Hello, I'm Barbara Ann Yates, but I will explain who I am later on in the presentation. My topic for your consideration is the myth of pay inequity. And when pay inequity is discussed, very rarely do you hear the concept of your own personal responsibility in that. And if you don't know your personal part in the dance, you can miss out on compensation and possibly a career. So I'm going to give you a true anecdote that I experienced to show you how not knowing your power can affect your compensation and recognition. I was a special needs teacher, and I was certified to teach physics, chemistry, biology, and social studies. And my friends at the time, when the dot-com industry was starting up, suggested that I might be good in that field. Had no knowledge of the field, but I trusted them, so I went to a headhunter. And I asked the headhunter to send my resume out to corporations. The headhunter informed me that he had sent out 100 resumes and received 100 rejections, to which I went, So as divine providence would have it, I opened up a newspaper and there's an engineering company and they're having an open house. And I said, all right, fine, I'll do that. And I took my son. I was a single mom at the time and couldn't afford a babysitter, so I took my son and I went to the hotel and I paid the concierge to watch him while I went to a row of tables staffed by human resources whose job is to keep out people like me who don't have an engineering degree. So I went up to the table and I said to the human resource people, you know, I have a strong science background and I understand that you're looking for communication engineers, software engineers, data structure engineers, but I do have this background and I'm looking for a marriage of maybe skill set and opportunity. And as luck would have it, 2 managers overheard me say that to them, and I went and I interviewed with them. One was software engineering, which I knew nothing about, but I found out that it required coding, and I would rather set my hair on fire than code, so off I went to the system engineering department. And I interviewed with the manager, and it went fairly well, but keep in mind, I'm a woman, I don't have an engineering degree, and I'm an educator, the trifecta of nothing to them. So the manager at the end of the meeting says to me with a little bit of an edge, well, what makes you think you can do this job? To him, to which I replied, well, you know, as an educator, you have to have a goal and objectives, and you have to develop metrics to determine how well you arrive at that goal. And I said, the only difference, with all due respect, sir, is we do the same process, we just have a different vocabulary to describe that process. To which he said, right hand, you're hired. So now what I want to give you to consider is if I had let the headhunter define my circumstances, I wouldn't be standing here today. If I had let the manager intimidate me, keep in mind, I knew nothing about system engineering at the time, but I knew who I was and what I brought to the table. If I had let him define me, I wouldn't have received a 49% salary increase. Ultimately, I transformed my career from education into engineering and was the only female lead many a time at a table full of male engineers, and I did it without an engineering degree. And ultimately, I went from that to my own company, consulting to the government on information security. None of that career could have happened had I let those 2 incidents define me and define my circumstances. So what I'd like to give you is, if you don't know your value, you can't own it. And if you don't own it, you can't communicate it. And if you can't communicate it, you can't get recognized, gain advancement, or be compensated for it. And that's my mantra that got me through life. So when you understand your value and you own it and can communicate it, you have reached the point of no return. You will now define your circumstances as best as you can, and no one will define you, and that is power. And if you wish to learn more about Womanovers, please go to my website, womanovers.com. Thank you.